What's good? All right, we back in the garage. Finally close to hopefully getting a test start on this thing. I know this looks like a total mess down here, wires and wiring. So I pretty much wired everything up to the BMW black. Obviously it's not neat at all because it's just for me to try to get this thing to fire on the stand. I got my wideband bung in here. That should be good to go. Turn this off, my charger's on. Fuel lines are pretty much ran, PTFE. Obviously it's not connected yet. I see I have my hose here. What I'm gonna do is just fill this bucket up with some fuel. I'll set the fuel pump in there, obviously run the wires. And then connect the fuel pump from there to the rail. I had the regulator and all that because I want to test everything and make sure that basically I want to make sure that all my connections, my sensors, everything is working right. And so my fuel pressure is on the regulator. What else? Fuel pressure, oil temp, oil pressure, the 2-in-1 sensor there, intake air temp. I need to make sure that's good to go. My coolant temp, the NOx sensors, obviously the crank sensor, gotta make sure that's good. Cam sensor, make sure that's good. Injectors, just make sure they're fire. This is like a BMW style, like intake idle air control valve. I'm not exactly sure how that's gonna work with this. I just pretty much plugged it up, got it plumbed in there, and got it wired too. We'll see how that works. VVTI, I have to see how that works. That's stuff I'm not unsure of. All I have to do is I need to, actually I don't even need to block that off because it's not gonna be connected. But everything's snugged down. I got my filters in, my gaskets in, intake gaskets are in. Put the wideband on obviously just so I won't have a ton of loud exhaust. If it does run, at least it'll run through the turbo. That's connected. Got oil in it, so everything that needed 12 volts. Kind of strung together. I have some fuses down here where everything's kind of fused. I know it's a rat's nest, but I know what it is. All my power wires pretty much come here, and then I crimped them together, and I just have them sourced to the battery in the back. I unplugged the battery from the actual BMW, and then it's just plugged into the 2J. And then same thing for all the grounds. I just ran all those, spliced them into one loop, and then I usually connect that to the negative terminal on the battery. So that's that, and then I run a ground from the battery to the engine head here, just for the ground loop to get its way back to the battery. So that's what that is. Then I also ran a positive from the battery to the starter. And then when I need to power the ECU, I just plug in here where the starter is and the fuel pump as well. So, I know it sounds a little confusing, obviously it's a little ghetto, but this is, again, I wanted to get it running on the stand, make sure it's at least gonna turn over and run. As you know, I built this myself, so at least I know it has anything crazy wrong with it before I put it in the car. It's the fuel pump, 12 volts for the fuel pump here. This is the 12 volt ignition source for the ECU. So when I connect this to this yellow cord from the that's going to the starter, which is going to the positive on the battery. Once I have the ground connected to the battery for the ECU, connect this to the positive, we get power. Then I have a starter switch here, which I can use to just plug that up and obviously activate the starter as well. So that's pretty much a quick down and dirty of how I got that situated. It's actually, everything worked out pretty decently. So I got a base map. ECU Master's website actually has a it has options for base maps, and obviously member of certain couple pages that can provide help. So I have 1500 cc snake eater injectors. They actually have, one thing about the EMU Black software also is that it has pre-configured settings for certain popular choices as far as like injectors and coils. So the snake eaters are actually already in the software, so I just had to literally click that. The Hitachi coils aren't in there, but I found on the ECU Masters Google Drives where all the base maps and stuff are, they actually had the settings for the coils, so that was good. What else? Let's see, here's the software here. Obviously it's not connected at the moment, but let's see here. I'll open my software. So like I was saying, for example, I started out going up to the sensor setup. So obviously gotta make sure our sensors are set up first. Go in here, drop that down, everything's in here, TPS. Click TPS. Again, it's gonna bring up this chart. And then all I'm entering is the minimum voltage number and then the maximum voltage number. And then I can bring up the log and actually read what the TPS voltage was. All I had to do is enter that in. That was how simple that was. Again, I'm not trying to go super in depth. It's just showing you some of the basics of the software. But everything in here, you can do all your sensors, your temp sensors. So I got my IAT temp sensor, coolant temp sensor there, map sensor, pressure sensors. Like for fuel pressure, I had to enter there, oil pressure's there, oil temps here. You got your engine start parameters, enrichment, fueling. This is where I did the injectors, ignition. That's where my coils were. NOx sensors, turn those on. Idle is kind of controlling the idle control valve and what my set idle is going to be. Outputs as far as for the VVTi solenoid, that's one output I had to program. I had to program outputs for the idle air control valve. Again, those are things you do there, obviously. And then once I get like a second fuel pump, I have that output to kick on at a certain PSI to kick the fuel pump on. My boost control solenoid, once I get my boost setting, my boost control solenoid, if I want to be able to have different boost settings, that'll be output to control there. VVTi, you got traction control, drive-by-wire, boost, nitrous control, flex fuel. I want to get a flex fuel sensor. I have that engine protection. That's plenty of like, you can set up strategies for if your oil pressure gets too low, to limit your RPM or your timing. All kind of things you can do on here. So for me, I feel like this was pretty much the best bang for the buck and option. Like this is, it's pretty straight. So that being said, all right, so I've connected the negative to the battery. So now everything is grounded. Again, this is the ECU power. So you'll hear it beep once I give this power. All right, that's the ECU turned on, that beep. That was that. Fuel pump, same thing, give it positive connection. Fuel pump starts running. Simple. I got a fire extinguisher in the corner here, in case you guys were a little freaked out about the open fuel here, but it'll be all right. There is a strainer on the oil, fuel pump as well, the stock strainer that comes with it to make sure, and then that's also why I had a fuel filter before it hits the rail, just to make sure everything's filtered out. So I'm going to connect the starter switch and the ECU. I usually connect those together. All right. Got our beep. ECU now has power. So the starter switch. This is the solution I came up with for checking timing. I had an old set of kind of make your own MSD wires that I was using on an old LS project. Obviously I got this in the boot end on the spark plug, trying to kind of get the ground here on the V-band on the turbine housing, and then obviously I just got that wire ran into the coil. Hang on. And I just stripped it back. Let me get some way. It's actually not gonna do that. Yeah, I stripped it back so you can see the conductor. And then pretty much just fed that straight into the Hitachi coils. Into the coils, and it worked last time. I wanted to retest it just to make sure, and I figured I'll show you guys. I'm not sure if you were able to see it the last time, but I'm gonna set it for, I got it set right now for, it'll be 10 degrees. So the initial angle is locked at 10 degrees. See right here and here. So when I crank it over, should see 10 degrees. I just want to re-verify. Last time I did it, it was perfect. Kind of made my little mark here on the crank, so I should see it. And it seemed pretty on point to me, so I'm gonna set this up. Got my timing light right here, and see if we can get it to work. All right, so I'm gonna test it, see if it actually works. All right, so it is working. So I'll hook up timing light, see what we're getting. All right, got everything set up. Got a little cheap, what's this, O'Reilly's timing gun. Does work. Testing it now. So I'm gonna try to start and see what it's reading. About 43 pounds. Hellcat pump. Got a Hellcat pump regulator. Got a regulator at 3 bar, so about 43 pounds. No leaks. Fuel system's good. Alright, so fuel pump has power. I have the base PSI set at right now it's set at 43 PSI. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect the ECU to the laptop. Alright, so that's the basics of the software. I'm not gonna do too much. I know it's flares and all kind of stuff here. I'm just trying to show you, but say this is a throttle position. I'm moving that. See my throttle position here. Get my readings. PSI for fuel pressure right now, 42.6. Oil temperature, I had to recalibrate that when that was off, but oil pressure works correctly. RPM works correctly. Cooling temp, obviously there's no cooling in it right now, but this is pretty much, it's feeling about 95 degrees right now, ambient. So this is the map, this logs everything. You can do different parameters. It has preset things if you want to check out. So like, this is the ignition table, shows your triggers, sync status, ignition, angle, whether it's synced. This is the idle table, tells you PID for your idle control, target idle, ignition, whether the idle control is active. Like right now it's showing active. Well, so I paused it now, so it's not gonna show, but it should be active. Cam angle. This is the wideband page, shows everything related to the wideband readings. So you can obviously you can see anything you need there. So I think it's gonna fire this time, but still don't know if it's gonna run right.
Getting somewhere. I'm getting somewhere. Close. Fucking close.
right. So I learned that I needed to lean out. I need to lean out once it gets warmer, but it's hot keep starting out, I don't. I just killed the fuel to cut it off. It's getting up to about 180 degrees, so that's about operating temp, so I'll go ahead and shut it down there. But yeah, it runs. Obviously it's not super idling perfectly. I mean, it idles, I guess, decent, but the warm-up procedure obviously needs some work. But man, as you see, like, everything runs, operates like as it should. Like, got everything logged still so I can check it out. First couple times I was getting smoked out in the garage, so at least I think I got the some of the VE down better, so I'm not getting totally choked out in here from fuel, so that's good. Obviously I'll have to wait till I get it in the car, and then once I get it in the car, I'll be able to actually hook it up to a cooling system and then actually let it run, so I can try to kind of figure things out long term or long enough in the system to figure out what's going on as far as the timing, fueling, stuff like that. Obviously, again, what am I at right now? About 197. Obviously it's not running, so I know it's gonna create a little more heat, so it'll probably get to about 200, start coming back down. I don't want to get it above that. Yeah, man, so pretty much it as far as getting it running. Everything's running like it should. Probably won't be trying to start it too many more times. I'm gonna drain the oil out, make sure it doesn't look like any particles or anything in the oil, change the filter. And then only thing now I gotta figure out is the transmission situation. So again, I still have the TR6060. So I did talk with a guy, I forgot the name of the company, that offered to either trade it in and basically give me a discount on a Magnum, or take this one and actually convert it, because obviously, like I said, it has the integrated bell housing, so I can't swap to a different bell housing to connect it to the 2J, which is what I need. So either I'll do that, or I may sell it and do a CD09, if I can find a decent CD09 kit, or I may even do a R154 if I can find one with like a Marlin Crowder kit in it, or maybe get a straight cut gear set for it, depending on the price and how that is. So we'll see. Getting options, we getting there. So I'm gonna look over this log, make sure I didn't see anything crazy again. Make sure I go ahead and save it now. Yeah, man, that's pretty much it. In a nutshell. So again, for now, obviously a lot more content coming up now that I got progress here. So once I figure out getting this car registered, because obviously here's smog laws, that's not gonna pass smog, so I gotta figure that out. The engine that's in it now actually does pass, so I think I'm gonna try to see if I can go ahead and get it registered now while that one's in there. At least that way I'll have a tag for a year. I can drive it around once I get this thing in it. So that's probably the plan. We'll see what happens. But appreciate y'all checking me out. Again, sorry it's been a little minute. Hopefully it's enough content here based on the things I've done, obviously, that you guys haven't been able to see as far as the wiring and the ECU and stuff goes. So more stuff to come, and yeah, holla at your boy.